Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to this evening's Columbus Common Council Committee of the Whole special meeting. It is Tuesday, January 9th, 6:30 p.m. For those of you joining us on Zoom, welcome. Just before we get started, I did want to lay down a couple of requests for the evening. If you are Zooming in and you wish to make a citizen's comment, we are going to be, for time's sake, limiting comments to 3 minutes for everybody tonight, whether you're on Zoom or live in person. We are going to request that those who are here in the room wishing to speak state which meeting that they want to speak at when they get called on, whether they're speaking at the special cow, the regular council meeting, or the regular cow. And obviously, when you come to speak to the podium, state your name and address. For those of you who are online wishing to speak, our interim city administrator, Matt, is going to be calling on you as you raise your hand. I see some of you do not have your names listed, your full name. When you are called upon to speak, please state your full name, first and last name, and your address of residence in Columbus, and we will proceed in an orderly fashion that way. 3-minute rule will apply to everybody, whether you're online or in person. And with that announcement, I will take a roll call this evening.
Finkler? Here. Hammer?
Here.
Gray? Gray?
I'm sorry, we're on mute.
Oh,
Did anybody hear any of that I said? Okay. I'm going to back this up then. Good evening to all of you who are joining us in chambers here and on the Zoom meeting. For those of you who are joining us online, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a rundown of what the people in chambers heard when we didn't realize you were muted. Sorry about that. This evening for citizen comments, we are going to ask for expediency that those who are in chambers wishing to speak tonight, so that they have an opportunity to get home if they're wanting to speak at one of the first meetings, we're going to allow those people to speak first. Our interim city administrator, Matt, is going to be calling on those of you who are joining us via Zoom, raising your hands to speak. There are a good number of you I see listed who are not on Zoom with both your first and your last name. As per all rules, for anybody wishing to speak during citizen comment, you will need to state your first and last name and address of residence in Columbus when you're called upon to speak. And because of the number of people who are here tonight wishing to speak, we are going to limit comments to 3 minutes per person. And if, when you are called upon, you could state whether you're looking to speak at the special cow, the regular meeting, or the regular cow, that would be appreciated as well. And with that, I will take a roll call.
Finkler?
Here.
Hammer?
Here.
Gray?
Present.
Motif?
Present.
Reed?
Here.
Rolke?
Present.
Steiner?
Here.
All present.
Okay. And tonight's meeting has been properly noticed. I am looking for a motion to approve the agenda for the special meeting.
Alder Motif will make a motion to approve the agenda for the special meeting. Second.
Okay. I have a motion from Alder Motif and a second from Alder Finkler. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda has been approved. At this time, I will open the floor for citizen comments. I do have a couple of people signed up on the sign-in sheet here. Aaron Patrick, were you looking to speak at the special cow, the regular meeting, or the regular cow?
Regular cow.
Okay. And Paula Steiner?
So she's looking to speak during the discussion in regards to the recreation department. So that is the special cow, correct?
No, that's the regular cow.
That's the second.
Yeah.
Then her and I will both do the second.
Okay. And with a show of hands, raise your hand if you're joining us via Zoom. If you are looking to speak at the special cow before we go into closed sessions just to discuss the city administrator's salary range, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we will ask the question again at the regular meeting and the regular cow. Okay, seeing no hands raised, I will ask for a motion to convene the closed session per State Statute 19.851C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility for purposes of discussing city administrator salary range.
Alder Motif will make a motion to move to closed session per 19.851C.
Mayor Hammer will second.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion from Alder Motif and a second from Mayor Hammer. Any discussion? Okay, in that case, could I have a roll call vote, please, Pat?
Hammer,
Aye.
Gray,
Aye.
Motif,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Rolke,
Aye.
Steiner,
Aye.
Pinkler. Aye. Motion carries.
Matt?
For those on the Zoom call, we'll now be going into closed session. I'll be moving everyone into the waiting room. And when we reconvene to open, I will move you back into the Zoom call.
We'll give everybody a minute to clear out.
not offended, it's okay, don't worry about it.
Move to adjourn. I have a motion from Alder Finkler and a second from Alder Motive to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.
All right, it is 6:44, and we will go into the regular Common Council meeting for the evening. Again, as stated, please keep yourself muted until such time as correspondence and communications come into play. If there's anybody that wishes to speak, please raise your hand so that we can let you in. With that, I would entertain a roll call.
Finkler? Here. Hammer?
Here.
Gray?
Present.
Motive?
Present.
Reed?
Here.
Rolke?
Present.
Steiner?
Here.
All present.
Okay, with that, if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our meeting has been noticed. So I would look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Alder Finkler and a second by Alder Steiner. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Okay, correspondence and communications. Is there anybody that wishes to speak at this meeting? Please raise your hand if you're at this regular meeting. You wanted the committee of the whole. It'd be the next one. Okay. So which meeting did you want to speak at?
So the last time we asked for clarification, we said it was supposed to be this one. So
Okay.
that's-
Oh, no, that's fine. No. I thought you mentioned the second cow.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's what I thought.
So
The
are
sec-
are
but you can
discussing
speak.
The recreation assistant position during this meeting?
Yes.
Then this is the meeting.
Okay. So, Aaron, if you, and then you'll be limited to 3 minutes.
Oh, got it. Great, thanks. My name is Erin Patrick, and I was compelled to come down and talk to you guys after watching the meeting from a couple weeks ago in regards to Amy Jo and just the value she brings to the town. I've known Amy Jo for many years, and I have 2 kids in Columbus schools, and I've had the pleasure of working with her in many different channels. First, our relationship started as just a parent and family participating in the events she plans. Then as a member of various sports organizations that work directly with Amy Jo, facilitating all sorts of things, schedules, planning, gym time, all of that. When I think of Amy Jo, I think of one of those people who is a master at keeping the plates spinning. You have to start spinning new plates while keeping others at a proper speed or they're gonna drop. Many of the things Amy Jo does carries a lot of mental weight, things that she has to think about, reminders, checklists. The list is never ending, and there's no stop and start for a lot of the things that she's doing. from the things that I've personally worked with her, she's the point of contact for managing the facility rentals. If you've ever rented the pavilion, you're working with Amy Jo. If you've ever been a bride and planned a wedding, you know that the person that you are working with at your location is like your event coordinator. They're on call for everything from your vendors to your licenses, permits for your alcohol stuff. All of that is just Amy Jo's job. And there's not just the pavilion, it's 7 different buildings or more in the town of Columbus that she's managing for those reasons. And the high time is summer. All summer long, she's on the hook for being the point of contact. I scheduled a birthday party at one of the parks. I needed to make sure the bathroom was open because it was in May. I'm having to call her and ask her questions all the time about what's allowed at the parks. She's the point of contact for that. I just can't imagine the sacrifice that it must take you, Amy Jo, to be on the hook 24/7 as a point of contact for all the facility rentals. Not only the rentals, but you solicit things into those buildings when they're vacant, like the citywide garage sales in the winter, craft fairs, the walking. There's a lot of soliciting into those vacant spaces to bring people into the town. Those have to indirectly impact revenue in the city somehow. When people are coming to the holiday parade and the sparkle in the park and the Halloween hunts and all of that, they're stopping at Culver's. They're stopping at the local bar that I work at in Fall River. All of these areas are impacted by the work that Amy Jo is doing. That's just like the buildings and the recreation side of things. But
Give
then
about
when
30 seconds.
when you start to talk sports, you're in charge of all of the ESYBL coordination. And I don't know if you have a kid that plays sports, but there's a ton of that's going on. She's a direct partner in the softball and basketball organizations. And the city portal, that's all you too. Any lessons, anything, tennis, swimming, all of that gets managed to that portal. I just really hope that the council, the entire council, sees the value that Amy Jo is bringing to this town. We cannot lose her. Thank you.
Perfect.
Did you want me to wait to get called up, or am I?
No, go ahead. Name and address.
Huh?
Name and address.
Oh, yes. Blood type 2, right? Paula Steiner, 442 West James Street. Thank you, members of council and the mayor, for allowing me to speak tonight. I would like to thank every single one of you for our service to this community. At the end of the day, this is not my ideal place to be. I'd rather be home with my family, but the recent actions or lack thereof actions has brought me out today. This is not an attack on one person in particular, but calling out what I expressed to you all the way back in April via email. Our community is divided, and as leaders within the community, closing that divide starts with you. Now, moving on with the recreation department. When you think about the recreation department, it provides a quality of life that makes a city the place that people want to live. And I wish that this was the first time that recreation has been misunderstood, but sadly it has not. When our stormwater utility failed, the first department that was mentioned for cuts was recreation. I personally reached out to the current council at that moment and city administrator with concerns of recreation being cut. I was met with, we need to find the money. Where do you recommend coming up with $150,000 to $250,000? Little disappointing with that response, but we're gonna fast forward to October, where you as a council agreed to provide a full-time recreation assistant job. I thought to myself, holy crap, they finally get it. They're gonna support our director and give her what she needs. At the last meeting, I was live at home watching it from my computer. During the conversation in regards to our recreation director, I was, sad to say, yelling at the screen as some of the comments were coming in. My 14-year-old was near me and asked why I was so upset. I told him that people were picking on Amy Jo. He stopped exactly what he was doing and said, who do I need to talk to help them understand? My 14-year-old understands the impact that our director has on this community. Why can't the rest of you? Now, please approve the job description and the pay that was approved during the budgeting season. Lastly, I'm addressing you as the chairperson of the Beautification Advisory Board, which we approached our year anniversary. At our last meeting, I wish you all could have been there because it was discussed with great frustration that they do not feel, the entire committee does not feel that council trusts us and wants to work with us as a group. So I was asked by the group to come here and express those frustrations. I would ask that you all think it over if you support beautification and its efforts.
Okay, is there anybody on Zoom that is wishing to speak?
There is, Mayor.
Okay.
I just need to find the name and chat that requested.
We ask for everybody's patience through this.
It's Tabitha McGee.
Okay, Tabitha McGee, if you could state your name and where you live.
Tabitha McGee, it's W2631 State Road 16, Columbus.
Okay, if you go ahead and say what you need to say.
Amy Jo has done a lot for this community, and I agree with the first person that talked. She shouldn't be getting picked on like that.
And what she's trying to say is too is that she does a lot of the activities for these kids to keep them involved and stuff. And I think that they should approve this and approve this assistant job because she does a lot. She does beyond what she should do. She does a lot for this community. And my kids absolutely love her. No. But I think that's about it.
Okay, well, thank you, Tabitha. I mean, we can count up too. There we go. Is that it? Okay, is there anybody else that wishes to speak? You can let yourself be known in the chat, or you can raise your hand on your Zoom link. No? Okay. Sir, you walked in late. Do you wish to speak, or?
You're on another matter.
Okay. At this meeting, or?
Just
Okay.
observing.
Oh, observing. Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Nope, that's fine. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, then we will move on to the consent agenda, which is the Council and Committee of the Whole minutes, and then also the operators licenses for 2023 to 2025 licensing period. Emma L., not sure, Few, is that how you pronounce it? Fiona A. St. John, and Nicole Tuttle.
Alder Motive will make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Alder Rolke will second.
Okay, I have a motion by Alder Modoff and a second by Alder Roki to approve tonight's consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda approved. In new business, number one, to approve the PAA recommendation for the city administrator salary range. So I would look for a motion to accept PAA's recommendation.
Alder Modoff will make a motion to approve the recommendation from PAA for the city administrator's pay range.
Steiner can second.
We need to clarify the range.
Okay, well, yeah, we could state that. I don't have my papers now. The range was 120,000 to 135,000.
Okay, so I'll amend the motion to approve the recommendation for from PAA for the city administrator salary in the amount of 120 to 135,000 annually.
Steiner can second.
Okay. I have a motion by Alder Modoff and a second by Alder Steiner to approve PAA's recommendation for the city administrator salary range from 120 to 135,000. Any further discussion on this? Okay, hearing none, this would be a roll call. So.
Gray,
Aye.
Modoff,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Rolke,
Aye.
Steiner,
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, item number 2 is to approve the Plan Commission's recommendation on the certified survey map for Troy Gates at 270 and 270 Commerce Drive. You have the paperwork in front of you.
Troy Gates, if you have any questions.
Okay.
Alder Finkler moves to approve the survey map for Troy Gates at 200 to 270 Commerce Drive.
Alder Rolke will second.
Okay, I have a motion by Alder Finkler and a second by Alder Rolke to approve the certified survey map for Troy Gates at 200 and 270 Commerce Drive. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Then next would be to approve the Plan Commission's recommendation for the certified survey map for Keith Lupnow at the 146 to 154 North Dickinson Boulevard property.
Alder Finkler moves to approve the certified survey map for Keith Lopnow at 146 to 154 North Dickinson Boulevard.
Steiner can second.
Okay, a motion by Alder Finkler and a second by Alder Steiner to approve the CSM for Keith Lupnow. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to item number 4, which is to approve the recreation and aquatic assistant position. And again, you have all that information. I'm sorry, go ahead. Alder Gray, go ahead.
I was just going to make a motion to approve the recreation and aquatic manager assistant position.
Regal seconds.
Okay, I have a motion by Alder Gray and a second by Alder Reed to approve the recreation and aquatic assistant position. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, please.
Okay, Alder Modoff.
I would like to address some of the pointed comments out there by saying, I never said you do a bad job, Amy Jo. I never said you did not deserve an assistant. I asked questions about, can we keep this position filled? I still have a question as to whether this job description in itself should be separated, and they should be two separate positions. When looking at your flex time, and when you had the most flex time, it was during the summer. That is also the aquatic director's busiest time. And my question for you is, does it make sense to have that be the same person and to not have the job description separated? If the assistant doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, then you've still got to deal with the aquatic director portion. And so I think separating these is what makes sense. And that is my thought on it.
Alder Steiner.
Sure. I think that, honestly, I disagree with Alder Motive here that it should be one position, as Amy Jo has been able to handle all this by herself, but it is a lot. The biggest thing with the rec assistant is she is a department by herself. She is doing everything by herself, and anything that needs heavy lifting or needs to be done, she has to beg other departments to get done. Currently, there are things that are just sitting there and waiting for somebody to pick it up the slack, or they're going to have to outsource some things that should have been done months ago. This is one of those things where basically I wanted to state that instead of putting this out into the ether and see who we can get, since this is so far behind, since her department is so far behind, and Kane is already an employee with the city, that we just promote him into the position if he still wants it. If he doesn't want it, then we're in the same boat that we're in before. But because everything is so far behind, everything is so pushed back, and there's stuff that needs to get done. She's got flooring in 161 building that's been sitting in, I believe, the aquatic center, just sitting there waiting for someone to install it. DPW is not going to install it. It has to be outsourced. Whatever the reason is, it's irrelevant, but it just needs to get done. The front desk at the aquatic center is in pieces. It needs to get put together. Kane has mentioned that he knows how to do this stuff. As an employee, he would be able to. Otherwise, we have to outsource it with licensed contractors, and it's going to cost a lot more. It's not budgeted for. These are some of the projects. Obviously, these are one-shot deals, but these are some of the projects he can do. Kane is also the most versed in that entire facility. He knows that pool better than anyone else in this town. He's worked with Amy Jo for a long time. He is obviously the best choice for this. And to expedite this whole thing, I would suggest that instead of putting this out there, we hire within. As he is already an employee, we just promote him to the position. There's always plenty to do between rec and aquatic center. They both can work with each other to get everything they need done and manage all the seasonal employees, as opposed to one person taking on everything.
Any further discussion? Alder Motive?
No.
You still, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. In regards to the position, even if you're hiring from within, I think you still have to go through the process. Am I correct in that, Paul, or Matt?
Yes, you still have to go through the process. You have to create your description, and then you can decide how you want to fill it.
And I'll just echo what Paul said. You want a transparent process. You also want the candidate being promoted into the position, if that is what happens, to basically prove that they're the best candidate for the job.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this, again, is to approve the position, and you know, we'll still have to go through what the city policy is for hiring within. So with that, we had the motion by, I believe it was Alder Gray, and the second by Alder Reed to accept the position. So, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now, the next item is number 5, which is to approve the rec and aquatic assistant salary or wage range.
Alder Finkler moves to approve the recreation aquatic assistant salary for what was approved during the budget, which was $56,000.
Steiner can second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Finkler and a second by Alder Steiner to approve the recreation aquatic assistant salary at what the budgeted position, or the budgeted item was. I know you do have in front of you some information that was provided by the interim Matt. So looking at that and taking some of that into account. Also take into,
Mayor,
yes.
one quick thing, while I don't disagree with Alder Finkler's motion, I do believe this is an hourly position. If we're approving it at an annual salary, I don't think that really meshes.
I'll do the math, hold on. 56,000 divided by 2080.
That's honestly what I was working on as
Yeah.
I was talking. I just,
Yep, thank you, Ian, that makes sense. $26.92 then. Should I remake a motion?
So this is a, just so that you know, this is a non-exempt position. So it's an hourly where there is overtime in
Right.
there versus an exempt, which is salary.
Are
So
we to the point where we can ask a question?
We have to do motions first. Do I need to update my motion then to be hourly?
yes.
yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So all right, I'll start over then. I move to approve the recreation and aquatic assistant salary at $26.92 an hour.
Gray will second.
Okay, a motion by Alder Finkler and a second by Alder Gray for the recreation and aquatic assistant hourly wage at $26.92. Any further discussion on this item?
I do have a question.
So, Alder Motive.
I see that many of the other positions and the information that you provided us are exempt. Why are we going with non-exempt? In particular, because now we're at the top of our budget, and this position is going to have considerable overtime, which will take us over our budget limit.
I agree with your concern. What I can say is the position job description that was created was shared with the city's labor attorney, Von Briesen and Roper, and they made the determination for it to be a non-exempt position. By adjusting the wage, we can resubmit that to them and see if that changes anything. But I know that there's more factors that go into wage is just one consideration of exempt, non-exempt. There's a lot of other, a lot of times, just in past, they've looked at supervision of full-time employees. There's a lot of other variables that determine that exempt, non-exempt, and I'm not an expert in that area. It's one of the reasons why we have the labor attorneys review those positions.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item?
I guess. Go ahead,
Alder,
Ian.
Alder Gray. Go ahead, Alder Gray.
So just one other thing. So we usually have a wage range on positions. Like, would it behoove us to do like 24 to 27 for a range instead of one specific number of we're definitely hiring a person at that number? Just a thought.
Yeah, we could do that, and then what we would leave that discussion for city administrator, or for the decision between city administrator, HR, and the rec director.
Right. That just makes more sense to me. And then we're at the top of the range potentially of what we approved earlier. But there's a range and, the people that know better than us sitting up here can determine the end wage.
Any further discussion in that?
I would agree
Alder?
with that. I mean, it makes more sense that, because you're not going to get every candidate going to be at the top range or, at the bottom. So if you have an open range of it, it would be the best choice to leave that a bit more flexible.
Alder Steiner, or Motive, sorry.
Paula wouldn't appreciate that. Is there a way we can go ahead and pass this as Alder Gray just said, but also say, can we go back to the attorney and see if this change does qualify it for an exempt position?
I'd be willing to go a step further and ask for the job descriptions of these exempt positions that are listed in the memo, and maybe share those and get some better understanding of what makes those exempt versus non-exempt, and see
Yeah.
if there's changes we could make, because I'm gathering there's a desire from the council to have it as an exempt position if possible.
At least from this Alder, yes.
Alder Finkler.
I'm okay with it being non-exempt, and I'm also okay with Amy Jo deciding the, what the person should make based on the range that we provided.
I guess I would just like to add in my 2 cents that, I like the salary range idea, and I am concerned if we go too high on that salary range, we're going to run into a place where we are significantly over budget on that salary with overtime hours. And then that leaves us in a bad spot for future years for the pool and the rec department.
Alder Finkler.
I guess I just am a little concerned with how we flipped from there's not going to be enough work for this person to now all of a sudden there's going to be too much work for this person, and now we need to cap on overtime. So I guess I'm just a little confused about that. If anybody that has spoke to that could add some clarification to those views.
Molly, if you look at the information that was supplied to the council and you review the amount of flex hours that Amy Jo already has, it shows that as her overtime, essentially, more than she's putting in for her 40 hours. And it's also known that Kane loves his job, and currently as aquatic director, he's there all the time. It's more than 40 hours.
We could make overtime pre-approved. I mean, you don't have to just give a blank check to overtime, but I feel like if overtime is approved, we should be paying for it. We already pay our staff in the city under what they should be making, and now we're basically saying we want to use and abuse them for not a penny more. I feel like if there's stuff that he wants to do out of the kindness of his heart, that's fine, but if it's approved overtime, we should be paying it.
Mayor, can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're starting to go down 2 completely separate paths here. And you were having a salary conversation at one point, and Alder Finkler has a motion that's on the table concerning salary. And now you're getting into the exempt versus non-exempt issue, and if you're going to go down that road much farther, you're either going to need to retool your motion considerably, or you're going to need to table this for tonight so that you can make a firm decision on exempt versus non-exempt, and then bring it back to your next meeting to talk about the salary part. You can still get this all done, but you have to figure out what you want to talk about first and then go down that path.
We, in what Paul had said, or the city attorney had said, we already approved the position, and the position says non-exempt. We already approved that. So I think going forward, if Alder Finkler would like to amend her motion to do the wage range as was suggested by Alder Gray, we can go that route.
Yeah, I'll amend for the wage
Then you'd
range.
be back on track.
Yeah, okay,
Yes, thank you.
perfect. What was the range, 24 to 27?
I thought that was a good range, whatever you think is, if you're making the motion. I mean, I think that kind of encompasses the acceptable range in my mind, but, you know, your motion.
I will, let's see.
You could
Okay.
simply say up to if you would choose to do that.
Okay, perfect. Alder Finkler moves to approve the recreation and aquatic assistant salary up to $56,000 a year.
No,
Oh, wait,
just
sorry.
do a-
That's $26.90.
Do an hourly.
Yep, I'm changing it. $26.92 hourly, up to $26.92 hourly at the discretion of the Recs director.
I'm not trying to
It's a-
create an issue, but do department
I
heads
will.
typically
So do we?
make the determination that would,
The rec director doesn't have the final say on.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
the
Okay.
range of the salary.
Okay,
Try again.
okay, sorry.
Just leave the last portion out.
I thought the experts got to make the decisions. Okay, so Alder Finkler moves to approve the recreation and aquatic assistant salary position up to 96. I am not going to do this successfully, guys. $26.09.
We just put it back to salary.
Oh, I was going to say hourly, sorry.
Hourly.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, let me try that again. You guys will get out of here at some point in time tonight. So, Alder Finkler moves to approve the recreation aquatic assistant on the agenda. It says salary. That's why I said it, because I'm reading it. Hourly wage to up to $26.92.
Ray seconds.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Finkler and a second by Alder Gray to approve the recreation and aquatic assistant hourly wage up to $26.92. Any further discussion?
Please, no.
I guess I
Alder-
just have a clarifying question.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
No.
I just would like to know, though, if that's what we're approving the hourly range up to, because that's what we budgeted, and he's a non-exempt employee. How do we address the overtime issue?
We already approved non-exempt employee.
Yes, I know, but we still have a budget.
I'm comfortable with the wording of range instead of up to.
What do you?
Trina, what are you proposing for the range? Because I can imagine, I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. It's not like he's going to be, like he, she, whoever applies is going to be offered at $16 an hour, you know? So I'm okay either way. If we want to switch to a range, I can amend again.
I just prefer the language of the 24 to 2690 or 27, one of those.
Okay.
I think for advertising, it makes more sense.
Okay.
I want to say this to this. We can't create this wage based upon overtime.
Right.
Overtime is not a guaranteed thing. Kane works a lot. He's there open to close, but there's no guarantee he's going to be the one doing this. And I would like to see him actually take a step back a little bit more and have other people take charge of the pool for a little bit so he can do other things as part of managing the whole thing. But I'm not one in charge of that, so it's not up to me. It's one of those things where he might work a lot of overtime this year. Maybe we can get him to cut back the amount of overtime. Maybe he can manage things a little bit differently, or whoever is in that position isn't going to work that much overtime. We set this range as his pay. The overtime is a different issue altogether. So I think we can just stop going back and forth on how much overtime we're going to have to
Yeah.
deal with in the future.
Right.
Yep, that should be handled under city policy on overtime. Okay. Let's try this again. This will be the last time, folks, all right? Alder Finkler moves to approve the recreation and aquatic assistant at an hourly range of $24 an hour to $26.92 an hour.
Gray will second that.
And now I quit.
We have an amended motion by Alder Finkler to approve the recreation and aquatic assistant hourly wage range from $24 to $26.92. Any further discussion?
No. Please no.
Hearing none. Roll call.
Gray,
Aye.
Motive,
Nay.
Reed,
Aye.
Rolke,
Aye.
Steiner,
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And then on to item number 6 under new business, which is to approve the claims in the amount of $304,118.49.
Alder Gray will move to approve the claims in the amount of $304,118.49.
Alder Motive will second.
Okay, I have a motion by Alder Gray and a second by Alder Motive to approve paying the claims. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, roll call.
Motive,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Rolke,
Aye.
Steiner,
Aye.
Finkler,
Aye.
Gray.
Aye.
Okay, pay the claims. And then on to item number 7, which is report of city officers. So, Matt, if you would.
Yeah, just very briefly, just want to share with the council, I've been meeting with department heads, city staff, extended an invitation to council members as well, just to kind of talk through priorities, past accomplishments, areas we need to improve, and I'm gathering a fair amount of data to bring back and want to report, kind of to lay out a map of priorities over the next few months, kind of in this transition period to ensure things keep moving forward. Also going to be working on an annual report of accomplishments from 2023, just to shed some light on the good things that did happen within the city and acknowledge the work of city departments over the past year, and have been trying to get as caught up as possible on a lot of the development projects and upcoming city projects that are occurring within the community. So that's really been the bulk of my focus early on in getting to know the staff and what's in front in terms of a workload. So I want to thank everybody for their willingness to take time, and still hopeful to get a couple more of those meetings scheduled, to wrap up that work, and look forward to what's ahead.
Thank you. Mine will be very brief. Wish to thank all city staff and employees for a good 2023 year, and look forward to a very positive and hardworking 2024. I appreciate everybody's time commitment in all the jobs that are to be undertaken in the future. So. With that, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Alder Finkler and a second by Alder Motive to adjourn. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
This is ordinarily where I'd ask people if they wanted a little break between, but for the safety of everybody who's here and still has to get home, I'm just going to make the executive decision to roll right into this. So welcome back to the Committee of the Whole. It is Tuesday, January 9th. It is 7:26 p.m. And if I could please have a roll call.
Finkler,
Here.
Hammer,
Here.
Gray,
Present.
Motive,
Present.
Reed,
Here.
Rolke,
Present.
Steiner.
Here.
Okay. Tonight's meeting has been properly noticed. I'm going to make the same comment for those who are still zooming in that I made at the first cow and that we made at the regular council meeting. If you are here and still wishing to speak during citizen comments tonight, we will be limiting to 3 minutes just due to the volume of people who are here who may potentially want to speak. Please utilize the hand raise button instead of just unmuting yourself. It's a lot of chaos and we can't tell who's asking first if you're wanting to speak during citizen comments tonight. And when you are called upon, Interim Administrator Matt will be unmuting you and calling upon you. If you are not already listed by your first and last name, please state both your first and last name and your address of residence in Columbus when you start to speak, and we will start the timer for your 3 minutes. With that, I am looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Alder Finkler moves to approve tonight's agenda.
Steiner can second.
Okay. I have a motion from Alder Finkler and a second from Alder Steiner. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ooh. Did he vote before you killed him? Nope. Okay. Included in your agenda tonight are committee and commission minutes from beautification from 10:26, library from 11:21, police and fire commission from 11:15, recreation from 11:13, tourism from 11:06, and utilities from 11:16. Next item on the agenda is to discuss the agreement designating
Amy.
portions of oh, I'm sorry.
You skipped the citizen
I
comment.
did. Oh my gosh, I skipped right over that. My apologies. I was really excited to get going on those committee reports and minutes. Is there anybody who wishes to speak during citizen comments tonight? If so, please raise your hand. Yeah. Oh, you did. Okay. Please come up.
Good evening. This will be very brief. Just two things I wanted to touch base about. First of all, that this is National Law Enforcement Officers Week, and I just wanted to put out a big thank you, as I did to my staff today, for all their hard work and dedication. Committed to the community. We're here 24/7. The last few years have been very rough with staffing countrywide. We're doing more with less people. We're hoping to be on the right track. We come to work here because we want to work here. There are so many other opportunities out there, and occasionally we lose them, and it happens. But I just want to say thank you to my staff who do a great job, and thank you for all your continued support, and we look forward to moving into 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And then secondly, I just want to give an update on the weather situation and the snow emergency. So far today, we've issued about 15 snow emergency citations, which is a lot less than I expected. Normally, we're in the 40s and 50s. So thank everybody for complying. The night's still young. Plows are coming out later tonight, so we're still in between calls. We've had a few accidents in the last couple hours. That's the sirens you've heard. I've been monitoring things on my laptop. But otherwise, the compliance so far has been great. Again, the plows are coming out, a crew's coming out later tonight to hopefully get everything taken care of, but otherwise very uneventful for the first snow emergency we've had of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who is here in chambers who wishes to speak who I didn't call upon? Okay. And is there one more call for anybody who's in the Zoom meeting tonight? Anybody who wishes to speak during citizen comments? Okay, seeing none. Our first item on our agenda is to discuss the agreement designating portions of Highway 73 as a connecting highway. Jason, Letha, did you want to talk about that?
Good evening, all. Before you tonight is a agreement with the Department of Transportation to change the connecting highway limits for State Highway 73. I will confess this has been around a little while. Those of you who recall when this road was resurfaced a couple years ago, the intent was to change the connecting highway limits from currently right now, the limits end at Faith Drive. We had petitioned the DOT at that time, once they had resurfaced the road, to extend those limits out to Heritage Way by the interchange. Through probably no fault of anybody's, this has fallen through the cracks with some staff turnover and some other things, but we've kind of resurrected this once we realized it was still outstanding, and the department is supportive of this, and so are we. What that means is that does involve some state aid funds coming to the city to help maintain that portion, which we already do. And so, I think we should probably get the responsibility of the, receiving the payment for what we're already doing. The other thing is that there are some change of rules with accessibility to the state highway. So those approvals come through the city instead of the state. So as we have development occurring in some of those undeveloped areas, we have a little bit more control over that if there aren't actual existing restrictions in place. So I think all good things for the city. This is more of a process of paperwork since we've all verbally kind of agreed on it, but we needed approval on this. This in your packet is missing the map. I apologize, it says attachment 1. It's just the map that shows that segment that I just described. And it is also missing the highway connecting change number, which I received today. So I will have that in the document. So upon moving this to final approval with your recommendation to do that, we will have the final document ready to execute and send it back to the state, which then will sign it by their division person and then return it. So it will be finalized at that point. So any questions on what we were up to? Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Is everybody comfortable moving this forward for a vote?
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. Next item on the agenda is to discuss salaried sworn officers' overtime pay eligibility for grant purposes, and we have Chief Weiner here to talk about that.
Good evening once again. Hopefully this will be relatively short and sweet. Every year, the Sheriff's Department here in the county writes numerous highway safety grants for traffic enforcement and allows all the agencies in the county to participate in them. We have been doing that for as long as I can remember, such as OWI, seatbelt, and speed grants are usually the 3 primary ones. For 2024, well, it actually starts usually in September, October. They run a different year cycle with the grants. The total is about $100,000, and there may be more coming. A lot of my staff haven't been taking the time working it, and I was approached by one of the lieutenants who wanted to know what it would take for him to be able to work it. One of the conditions of the grant are set by the state is that it has to be worked on overtime. And the reason they do that is they want that body for that amount of time to be solely dedicated to traffic enforcement. They don't want the person bouncing from a call or going to a lockout or doing something else, because then they're really not getting the bang out of their buck. So that is one of the conditions. It has to be at a time and a half rate. How the county does it, they have a Google active spreadsheet document. The county lists the dates and the time ranges of when the enforcement's going to be. Like an OWI enforcement are typically starting at 6 in the evening till like 3 or 4 in the morning. Seatbelts are during the day, speed's a little bit of both. So they tailor them based on that. And then you go into this working document and you sign up and you work maximum of a 4-hour block at a time. So it's managed by the county. Each year at the start of the grant, I have to submit what the officers' wages are, the overtime rate, and the loaded rate, which includes all the benefits. So the zero cost to this when the officers work it, as it would be for the salaried people, would be zero cost to the city. It is totally reimbursed by the state or by the federal government, depending on who issued the grants, and we've never had an issue in years past. We just pay it initially as part of regular payroll, and then when the grant cycle is ended, we get a check pretty promptly. The officers have to record their time in a working Google spreadsheet. It calculates all of it. It makes it very simple. Since very few, if any, of my staff are taking this time, I would like some enforcement to be done in this area. And typically when we do the highway safety grant stuff here, Highway 151 is one of our primary targets. If you notice in the monthly report, the call code for driving complaints, probably 80% of them are out there. Reckless driving, speeding vehicles, an occasional wrong-way driver, which happens unfortunately more often than someone would think or hope. So that's a primary target area. So I guess my request is that the non-union people, which includes the lieutenants, 2 lieutenants and myself, are both salaried. I've been known to help with the grant just on my regular time, like if we're doing a speed enforcement event. We've done it during my work hours, where I flex my hours, and then my hours don't get calculated into the grant. I'm okay with that, because when we do a speed enforcement grant, we usually have several bodies involved, and we write a lot of tickets, because 151 is a racetrack. We don't write cheap tickets out there. They're well-earned tickets. So my request would be that the non-union people, which would be myself and the 2 lieutenants, mostly one of the lieutenants has a primary interest in it. I will certainly help. Be able to earn overtime, which would be 1.5 times our hourly rate, and be able to participate in this grant. Current city policy doesn't allow non-union people to earn overtime. And this isn't a precursor to opening the door for our extra hours outside in anything else. We're salaried, we work extra hours, we have flex time, we earn it, we understand that. This is solely for the purpose of grant time, that again is no cost to the city in the end. The minimal cost, which I accept no matter whether it's union or non-union people doing it, or salaried, or overtime, is that the gas and the wear and tear on the squads. But with any grant, that's something everyone is contributing. So I mean, it's kind of a in lieu cost, but it's really not a direct cost. I mean, the fuel and vehicle wear and tear for 4 hours isn't substantial, and that's a cost that my budget can afford, and that's something I'm willing to contribute, you know, to in the mind of highway safety. So that would just be my request, that we allowed the salaried people exclusively for grant purposes be allowed during time and a half. Again, 0 cost to the city other than fuel and gas. And once the 100,000 runs out, the county puts out a notice, and then it's done until the next season. So I'm not sure where it's sitting at the moment, but there's plenty of time, plenty of money, and a lot of different enforcement dates and times already set.
Any questions?
No.
I guess I have one. I don't usually ask when
Sure.
I'm moderating, but maybe it's not a question, maybe it's a comment, but you do so much and ask so little. I personally would like to see you take the time and a half as well. Why don't you?
For this purpose, I would.
Okay.
But one of my lieutenants has a high interest in traffic enforcement, and he's more administrative now, and I think he misses it.
Okay.
So I think that's what spurred it. I'm always glad to help and willing to help, and when we do a multi-officer speed enforcement effort out there, I'll be right with them on the time and a half with the laser unit.
Good.
Clocking the cars and then radioing ahead to stop. I will gladly participate, but, you know, well, use a little extra money from time to time. But, yeah, I will absolutely. So that's why I left it generic with the
Okay.
salaried personnel, which encompasses me as
Good.
well.
Good. Anybody else have any questions? Are we all comfortable moving this forward?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much again.
Next item on the agenda is to discuss amending the Utilities Chapter 102-61 of the Columbus Code of Ordinances. And I believe Paul and/or Joe, you guys were going to speak to this?
Yeah, this is, it basically,
Here, you want to turn on your...
it basically states that when the president of the commission is unavailable, that the vice president has the power to take over for the president, which would also then include check signing. So it's just a matter of amending that so that the vice president has that power to
It's
sign
just on the
checks.
banking, the
It's
part
just
we're
on the-
changing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, he's taking over the meeting and such.
I think that's
so-
already in the ordinance, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay, all right.
And this also applies, I was asked to put vice president or secretary for check signing purposes, if you wanted to go that far. So they're both listed in this ordinance to be able to sign checks.
Does anybody have any questions?
I thought we talked just vice president.
It's just,
Yeah, I know,
Just to clarify, Paul, if you're saying that they are asking that we amend it again
Oh.
to include the secretary, or?
No, it says vice president or secretary already.
The note that I was given said vice president or secretary.
Yep, it
Yes.
does.
If the president is not available, so that's what I read.
Yeah.
But it's only check signing.
Correct, only check signing, yes.
Are we comfortable moving this forward then, everybody? Okay, perfect, thank you. Next item on the agenda is to discuss carry forward designated funds. And Crystal, you're taking that one?
I just want to make sure everyone is ready.
Yeah.
Right, so during budget season, there was a little bit of discussion about carrying forward funds and what that really means. If you have questions, we'll discuss that now. But we do have 3 specific areas that I'm looking at to try and consolidate, and actually, I'm bringing it to you because I want to move those into an LGIP, but I want everything very clear, what's going in there, and then I will track it, because one LGIP account gets interest, I break it out, and who's got the money in there, it will be tracked. But there's been historically, the fire truck restoration donations are accumulating in our designated bank account at Farmers with very little interest earnings. So this was my start of thinking, oh, I really should get this in the LGIP, and let's earn some more interest on it. The fire pumper truck was actually budgeted for 2023. It didn't happen. And we're looking at, it probably will not be solidified and going into until the 2025 budget. So the $350 that we set aside, that was budgeted, we have, our taxes that are generated from our budget, or from the levy. So that was another piece that I believe we need to keep identified and move it there. And then the third one that got brought up, I don't remember which meeting, was where's the money from the sale proceeds, the land, the Dollar Tree purchase, and that was the $415,000. So your idea was, well, we could set that aside and let's look at that for the future public safety building. So I identified these 3 things that I would like to track, and I'm asking you to classify them as designated. That way, we don't just start writing, take the money out and we need it for general purpose. Okay, no, it really would come back to the council if you wanted to say, you know what, we need that public safety, we're going to take a loan out for the whole thing, and we don't need the $415, we need to spend it elsewhere. You have total control over what that money is for. Historically, the fire truck restoration donations, you wouldn't want to change that. Your fire truck was capital, it was budgeted, if it changes, but that one specifically, we should keep as the fire truck, because it is going to happen. We'll need more funds in 2025 to pay for that. The public safety building is my suggestion to you, because you wanted to track that money and decide where it goes to. So if you want to set it aside, saying it's for public safety now, you can change that later. But this gives us an opportunity to track it and let it earn more interest.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Alder Gray?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm not opposed to that 415.7 going to the public safety building fund, but I believe originally when we first started talking about that, it's been a long time now, we talked about it going into like an economic development fund. I don't know whatever happened to that, but that was the initial thought when the council decided to sell that land, however long ago it was initially. So, wherever we put it, however we designate it, I believe it should be designated. But, just saying that was the original thought of the council back then.
And we could leave it no named If you want me to just track it and not make a specific designation on what you want to use it for in the future, we could move it out of general cash and not title it. That's a possibility too. But that was unbudgeted revenues in one specific year that we can track if you'd like.
Alder Reed?
Well, thank you. I would definitely like to leave the funds in account titled public safety. I feel like that's the least we could do for the original purpose of the property being bought, which was for a fire station. So I feel like we definitely should leave it in the general category.
Alder Motive?
I'm in favor of setting a designation for these funds. I think it's a better protection for the intent of the funds for the future.
Alder Finkler?
I agree with Alder Reed on the public safety building for the 415-700.
Mayor Hammer, did you have your light on? Just
Oh,
wanted to- okay.
haven't started off, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also very much okay with the public safety building designation. Like I said, I think it should be designated somewhere. I just wanted to, remind everyone that the original thought behind it was not that. So, but if that's what we all agree on now, I think designating it is the right idea.
Alder Motive, did you want to clarify, were you looking for a specific designation or just one in general?
No, just in general, I think it needs to be designated for the future. I think I'm fine with the public safety, I'm fine with economic development, but it needs to be clarified.
Alder Steiner, did you want to weigh in?
I agree. It should be designated and put into a fund. If we're not going to use it right now, we should set it aside for what we intend on it. And if it's public safety, I mean, we all know we need a new public safety building. Whether we use it for it or not, we have something started for it. And I think that's a step in the right direction.
So we are all comfortable moving this forward to vote on designating these funds?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is to discuss CHLPC Water Tower Fund. And Crystal, that's you again?
That's me too.
Okay.
All right, so I was, I failed to try and get someone here from the organization to talk to you, but we did have Henry here a few meetings ago, and then he brought the letter signed by Ruth Hermanson that they really do want that $1,500 set aside. They do have a fund for that. So back when, in the spring, after I'd been here a few months, I give you a financial statement each month that has this little spreadsheet for designated funds. You see it on your treasurer's report every month. So these are specific things that I've tried to go back, find record for. What is it for? Why are we keeping it? Why is it designated? Because designated is a specific title. You are titling something. So I've been able to eliminate a few so far because I've gone to the department. What was this for? Oh, it's gone. So we took those out of the fund, put them in general cash. And these are the ones we're down to today. So I looked into the one City Hall clock tower repairs. We have those in the general fund already. They said, well, tower. She said, well, I don't think we made a donation for the clock tower here. I think this is our tower money that was supposed to be set aside and donated a few years ago. So this goes back to like 2017. There was money
This goes
set
back
aside.
quite a ways.
Yeah.
I've been the liaison for the CHLPC for several years. Like this goes back even before I was on council.
And Ian, do you remember that it was for the City Hall clock tower? Because all they can talk about is the tower, not the clock tower.
There is the clock tower fund and the water tower fund are two separate. There's supposed to be, originally how it was set up, there was a fund that was supposed to be carried over every year and gain money. So like, I can't remember exactly how much per year each of them were.
I believe that's the 1,500.
Carried over so that they would accumulate funds, and then every 3 years or 7 years when they needed to do repairs or maintenance, they would have those funds available. and do it. Because you don't do the maintenance every year, like you don't spend $1,500 a year, but if we put $1,500 every year, then you spend $7,500 and fix it when it needs to be fixed, everything was. But it hasn't been getting carried over, is the problem?
Not that I could find. I think the last few years it was identified, and that's why we're going back to 2022 for the 1,500 specifically, but it's all about the tower, the water tower, not the clock tower. Because we have maintenance.
The water tower is the big one that they want to
Yeah.
get fixed.
Yeah, we have a maintenance account and we have a repair account for the clock tower right here in our city hall budget annually. If there was going to be something big next year, we would probably budget it that way. So in meeting with the different people in the spring and then meeting again with, well, I didn't meet with her, it was Henry came in again. They're talking about just the water tower. So no one.
Yes, the water tower has been quite a to-do since it was hit by lightning years ago.
Right.
And at that point, we realized how much negligence had happened with the maintenance and the brickwork needing filling and whatnot. And at that point, we had set aside a designated fund to be added to annually, and really thought that was happening.
Yeah, they have that fund.
That's the problem.
Yeah, they have that fund in their possession. I get their reports monthly to show that the money is there, but it's not been added to consistently like is being talked about. But I would like to get the 2022, which I can verify, the 2023, which we now have, and these two other designations in our city accounts. Historic preservation, I've gone back, there's no record on specifically any of those donations being targeted or designated to a specific item. And the City Hall clock tower repairs, we don't need that there. And those monies specifically, I'm suggesting that you put in that water tower fund also. So we have the 1,500 and from 2022, 2023, and then I'd like to move these to them also for that water tower fund. That takes it off our little city list. They have the fund for it, and that's where I think those funds would be best. They would be generating income, the interest, they're gonna be getting more interest that way.
Alder Moda?
I have a question for you.
Okay.
I am in full support of what you're suggesting here. I think it makes a lot of sense. But you said something that I'm looking for clarification on, that you closed some designated funds with the department heads?
The list, the projects were already done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were the accounts zeroed out, though?
Uh-huh.
So there was no money in those funds?
No, they were in this bank account.
Okay.
They were in the bank account. The bank account, when I finally got it reconciled, the list showed like $45 left in some, it was one of the rec department's programs that they had done, and they were like 5 years old.
That's a perfect example. So
Yeah.
in my world, in my accounting world, now maybe city government is different, but in the nonprofit world, when there's something left in a designated or restricted fund, if it is the board, which is the equivalent to the council, they have to give approval before it gets moved over to the general fund. Is that the same? Should that be brought forward as well?
Oh, it can be, if I've got all the documentation.
I think
For
technically
it.
it's supposed to be, but you can
There
go
was,
ahead and look,
yeah,
and if
I
I'm
just know
wrong,
that
I'm
not all
fine.
the expenses, from what I can understand, not all the expenses got transferred out.
Right.
There was more expenses than money, but yet we're showing the money, the expenses are 5 years old. So I can't net them out anymore, it's
Right.
way too old.
Yeah, no, it
So the
totally
cash
makes
got
sense.
moved.
I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that we're following the correct process, because like I said, in my
Mm-hmm.
business world, the board has to give approval for that to happen. And I'm sure what you're looking at is fine and
Right.
legit. I'm just
Uh-huh.
worried about the process.
Okay, yeah, think the ones that we took care of this last year to clean up for the books are fine. They're old projects that not all, and I'm trying to get that do it really careful with people now, especially like the fire donations and some of the other things that people bring in donated, even the park donations, making sure they're in the right accounts, because they'll come in and they'll be for a specific purpose, and then the expenses come in and they got to be in the right accounts, so everything matches out. And what I found was that project or that thing happened, it all got expensed, but no one took the money and moved it out of that bank account. So it took months to get it all figured out and where the money came from, what it was supposed to be used for. Yeah, so this is what we have that remains, projects and lists. This is what we have now. So, yeah, I think we're fine.
So, I mean, the big thing for like the water tower fund is we need to figure out a way so that we are actually adding the $1,500 per annum to the fund for it to accumulate. That's what the issue has been, is those funds haven't been carrying over and getting added to. So whatever we need to do to make that happen, I think we need to do. That was the original intention, and it is the way that we can afford to hopefully maintain our water tower so that, maintenance is a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't think we should combine the rest of the historic preservation accounts into it, though. They are very, very careful with how their accounts are set up and where money goes where and who donated it, and to make sure that it goes into the appropriate area of, like if this person donated it specifically for this purpose, it goes to that account. So I don't think we should close out or combine any of their accounts, but we do need to figure out how to continuously add to that water tower fund every year.
Okay, well, that's what I'm bringing them forward to you for, because they don't have any record of it. And we spent calls and phone calls and talking to this person and who was on it 10 years ago, and no one can say what that $2,649 was supposed to be for. No one can tell me what the $1,580 was for. I can only assume the $1,580 because it looks like $1,500 plus interest. So I'm assuming that might have been the beginning of one, but we can't find record of what it was supposed to be used for.
Okay, I mean, if the HLPC is okay with combining them, then I'm okay with it. My bigger concern is actually putting $1,500 a year into that account and keeping that in that account and continuously adding to it every year. That's my concern.
Well, I think it would be a lot easier if we just budgeted the $1,500 each year, because right now it's tied to whether it gets spent or not out of a maintenance account. So when you have it tied to it, then someone has to come back and ask and check it.
Yeah, so we need to budget it every year and put it into the account instead of tying it to getting spent per annum. Because it doesn't make sense for it to get spent every year.
Yeah, so it really does need its own account so we can build it up.
Yeah. It was the entire purpose of it, it just was never done appropriately, so I'm really happy that you're bringing it forward. But that's what we need to do. We need to add $1,500 per year, so however we need to set that up, that's what it was intended to be.
Holder Finkler?
I'm good if HLPC does not know what the city, bringing us back to the agenda item, if HLPC doesn't know where the clock tower repairs and the historic preservation funds are supposed to go to, I'm fine with if they are okay with rolling it into the water tower fund.
Well, I'd like to try and get them here
you-
for the next meeting.
Okay.
'Cause
You wanted it moved into the water tower, right?
I would
didn't
like
say
to,
that, right?
Yeah, I would like
Okay.
to give it to them in their account. They
Yeah.
have an account for this.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about our city general ledger accounts. They have a physical bank savings account for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just move this forward and then they can be at the next meeting so we can?
We can if we choose to, yes. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ian and Trina, are you guys comfortable with that?
Henry,
Okay.
Ruth.
All right. The next item on the agenda then would be to convene to close session per State Statute 19.851C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility for purpose of discussing the public works superintendent coverage. And I am looking for a motion to convene to close session.
I make a motion that we convene to closed session per 19.851C.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion from Mayor Hammer and a second from Alder Finkler. Any discussion? In that case, can I please have a roll call, Pat?
Hammer,
Aye.
Gray,
Aye.
Motive. Aye. Reed,
Aye.
Rolke,
Aye.
Steiner,
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
We are in closed session. Thank you very much for attending tonight, everyone. Have a good night and stay safe. We will be coming back to open session to go back to closed session, and then come back to open session to adjourn, if you want to stay. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Alder Finkler and second from Alder Motive. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Stay safe out there.
Good night.